Dr. Verdeja, can you start off by explaining the function of the gallbladder and how it works? It's always important to start at the basics, so let's go with that.
All right, so what we have here is a diagram showing basically the right side of the abdomen. So if you were looking at me, this would be the area we're looking at, and basically located right up here is the liver, which we're outlining here. The liver is a very important organ, as you know, but one of the things it does is it makes bile. Bile is a thick, honey type of looking liquid that's yellowish and sticky, and it travels down a lot of tubes into what we call the common bile duct, which is this big tube that then eventually empties into the first part of your small bowel. So here's your stomach, it empties through here into your small bowel, and the tube with the bile enters right here. So this is what we call the bile ducts. Hanging off of that like a little fruit is what we call the gallbladder. The difference is that it's not solid, it's actually a sac. Okay, and that sac contains bile. Now, why do we have a gallbladder to begin with? It's really there to help us store bile. The liver makes bile 24/7, constantly dripping it into the intestine, but some of it gets stored in the gallbladder and concentrated in the gallbladder, so that when you do eat, the food will come down the esophagus into your stomach, mixed with acid. The acid breaks it down so that your steak and potatoes on the plate becomes pieces of steak and potatoes in your mouth, becomes puree of steak and potatoes in the stomach, and then eventually it enters here, and when it gets here, through the chemicals coming down here, the bile, and the other chemicals coming through the pancreas, it breaks down into fats, carbs, and proteins.
Right. So we need that gallbladder.
You need that gallbladder in a sense. You need the bile, really.
What happens when you remove the gallbladder?
All right, so when we take out the gallbladder, you say, well, what's going to happen? How can that be a treatment for my problem? It's going to make it worse. Well, the reality is that by the time you have gallstones in here, first of all, your storage pouch is now full of stones, so you're not really storing a good amount of bile. Secondly, when this gallbladder tries to squeeze, it can't squeeze properly. So that creates damage to the walls of the gallbladder. And third, these stones can create problems by getting stuck. Now, you take off the gallbladder, that gets rid of that problem. However, what happens to all that bile that you've been storing in the gallbladder? Well, the body and being a wonderful work of machinery, as we want to call it, this duct gets bigger, and as this duct gets bigger, the bile duct, the main duct, it then functions as its own little reservoir, but since it drips constantly, then it doesn't have time to separate, so the bile will not form new stones.